mean, being able to go into my first away game here, it's a different feeling. You can always talk about it, but being able to be in the moment and be in the game week of it, it's not like it. Just make sure we prepare properly.
One of the coaches said somebody going through rehab, it can be very lonely. What was the last year like for you?
I would say that it could have been lonely, but I have a great family background, and they was able to come from Florida to stay with me right after surgery, and they stayed for a couple of weeks after that. So having them being there for me, and then having Coach Boo, being a great position coach, still being in contact with me while going through that, I never felt lonely. I always felt like somebody had my back.
One game under your belts. How do you think the defense did? What's next?
I feel like we did great, but we have a lot to improve on. Obviously, we don't want to give up anything. And as far as, this first down and doing things of that nature and just pressing on what we needed to work on from last week. So we just take a step forward to make sure we prepare that way.
Did it feel like a year that you'd been out and hadn't felt that crowd and that adrenaline kind of deal of game day?
100%. I think that once you sit out from football, after I've been playing football since I was 7 years old. So, I never had an injury where I needed to sit out longer than a couple of days, So having a fall where I didn't play football, of course it felt like some time out. So being able to come back and being able to have an impact in that game and playing well and obviously coming with a victory too, it's just a great feeling.
What has Coach Walters meant to you personally and team-wise?
I think he just brings so much of his skill set and so much swagger and so intelligent, and being able to learn from him every day and learn this, like our whole defensive staff is amazing. I learned everything from J-Mo to Coach Kane to Coach Boo and Coach Walters. So love those guys.
Could you see him as a head coach down the road?
Of course. With what he brings to the table, there's no doubt in my mind he could be a head coach.
What's the challenge with Indiana, given there's some unknowns, new coordinator and quarterback? How firmly do you hold on to, you guys hold on to a game plan versus being ready to adapt?
Of course, with a new OC, we got to just know our concepts, know what we're watching, we're just watching film. Of course, every team has their own, assets and what they bring to the table. But we respect them. They're a great team. We fear none. So, we just make sure we go into the game with that mindset. Respect all, fear none.
It seemed like in the second quarter, you guys as a group realized they can't throw it on us, and they're one-dimensional at that point. That's exactly, it seems like covering Coach Walters, what you guys want to do all year long is just make somebody play one hand.
Yeah, 100%. In our scheme, we want to attack. And, we definitely don't want to give up any runs or very, very limited explosive plays. That's what we really pride ourselves on doing. So make sure we limit explosive plays, get the ball down through your lesson, and we just keep doing those things, stacking them days.
What do you think of what Quan did in that win against Wyoming?
Quan, man, if y'all can see, he's a specimen. He's a great player. What he does for this defense, just by himself, it's something that you can't really teach. What he does is something that's God-given. So we thank him, and he's gonna be playing football for a long time.
He seems like a pretty low-key guy, but any more performances like that, I think his name might get out there.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I know he is low-key, but at the same time, I think those are some of the best players, who just work and grind. Don't really do all that talking, but he just let his work back up for him.
It's a lopsided game late in the fourth quarter, so you got a lot of younger guys with a chance to play. What'd you see from those guys?
Those guys, they got in, but they earned those reps. They earned those reps in practice. They've been consistent. So when they got in there, they did exactly what we expected them to do, and that was ball out. So we're just gonna keep seeing them. Hopefully, we can get them on the field more often.
Were there some things you saw on film that you want to correct this week, as far as eye mistakes, gap discipline, any of that kind of stuff?
You hit it on the head. Eye discipline, gap mistakes, anything. In the game of football, you're going to get somebody that's on scholarship as well. So, of course, technique is always going to be something that you got to trigger on. But one thing that we always pride ourselves on is, having effort throughout the play. So even though if technique might come to play, make sure you give 100% effort. So really just working on our technique and being our best.
What was your perspective on the field for Spoon's pick? Were you in the middle of the field and did you see it?
For Spoon's pick?
Yeah.
I was to the sideline, right in front of him. So I was manned up on the tight end out wide. He was at one, and he did like a little hitch route, and the ball went over my head. So I turned around. I seen he caught it, so I'm like, oh yeah, we going to the house. And then we always practice sideline right. So I seen the tight end in front of me, got a little pancake block on him. I thought he was gonna score, but he got close.
When the ball gets thrown over on his side, does everybody on this defense kind of go, that's his? Especially if it was a ball like that, like a rebound jump ball?
100%, because he played with that kind of confidence. You know, when we see him on the field, you respect that man. So, you know, having him out wide, you know, like, we feel good about that out there.
And we heard a lot about Calvin Avery during training camp. Just, I guess, from your perspective, playing right behind him a lot of times. What does he do for this defense?
I mean, he does a lot. He's a man's man. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, not a lot of guys are gonna be able to move that guy. So being able to be in the center of our defense, huge. We need that from the D line, especially, you know, it helps free up the linebacker. So we definitely need that.
First meaningful playing time for Isaac D'Arcangelo on Saturday. Does he have more confidence getting that playing time under his belt, getting that first game out of the way?
Yeah, and Darko, man, he's always been I feel like, you know, it's kind of gone unnoticed because he's been on special teams before. So I feel like he's gotten a feel just from the game or from that case. But being able to have some significant amount of snaps, I think he did really well. You know, he brings a lot to the table. I think that just our linebacker core in general, you know, it's going to be a problem, you know, for a lot of teams, you know. So we just got to make sure we stay consistent in doing what we do.